All right, in this video, what I want to do is have a look at individuals who are in Ireland, who are owners and founders of small companies, and I want to start having a conversation about them. So this was a more of an experiment and a workflow that I was doing for a project. And obviously, I pulled the information out of Clay as the company name, their first name, last names. Of course, it puts the first and last names together. You can, of course, normalize things when it comes to names. That's something that you can do inside of Clay. The job title, and of course, there's the founders and owners and where they're located. So I wanted to largely not just target Ireland, but largely to target Dublin. It is it is quite a tech-forward city, so I thought that would be a good idea. And then, of course, their company domain, their LinkedIn profile. And the beautiful part about Clay is that it actually provides you their company or their profile, their URLs. And that's actually free data. If you have an account with Clay, you can derive that data for free. It doesn't cost credits, is what I mean. So obviously, Clay is not free, and it's a somewhat expensive platform. But that data, and Clay's very clear that they do not scrape LinkedIn. Whether they do or not, I don't know. But at the end of the day, they're very clear about that. They say they use so many other data providers to get that result. And then, of course, what I did was I set up, and I'll show you here, and I set up to have the AI tool, and so my AI model of choice for this one was 4.1. I am noticing a significant difference in this use case between 4.0 and 4.1 that is not even available on the ChatGPT side of things at this point. And so I had it go out and do a perform a task. And this is the context I've given the model. And then, of course, the prompt is, or this is the entire prompt, but this is the context I've given it, the objective. I wanted to 5 word summary or less. I didn't want to go on. And remember, when working with prompts, the better, the higher the guardrails, the better. The smaller the project, the better, and you can sort of segment out your various efforts inside of an email. In this use case, I'm just personalizing that first email, and then I put it up into my sequencer, which is instantly, and it then I just use the personalization merge tag, and then I get what I'm looking for. So from here, we then went into instructions about what it's actually doing, and of course, we're pulling the columns. And then examples. This is a really great framework when dealing with uh, any prompt, is that you've given it context, you've given it the objective, it has its instructions, and then it follows up with examples. And so there's unable to determine, which I would rather leave blank, but I felt it struggled with that sometimes. But as long as it's something that is as long as it's something that is similar, you can actually then isolate this down into something usable. So that was the prompt that I used to then send the tool to go have a look at this company page and tell me what it actually did. And so what I found was that it was pretty bang on. Sometimes some of the profiles that I was unable to determine were pages that weren't loading properly. They didn't host it any longer. Domain name for sale. Like that's, sort of these nuance, these sort of maybe the collateral damage inside of our outreach efforts. But I was able to then, of course, filter down to the unable to determine, and just simply delete them and clean up my data. And then from there, I went ahead and built out a formula. Formulas are free inside of Clay. And very simply put, the formula was their first name, a dash, very simply. I assume this email won't find you well. I'm kind of making a joke. I find the nuances of different geos interesting. I I connect really well with people, and this is actually across my client accounts as well. I connect really well with people in the UK, but when it comes to the Irish, I find they're not trustworthy, they're not easy to trust other people, is what I'm trying to say. And I find that they are like lawyers, like they don't accept connection requests very readily. And so I'm trying to this is just the first line of the email, the first sentence or two. And so I'm really trying to break down that wall. Like, I assume this email won't find you well. Ha ha ha. The weather sucks in Ireland. And from there, I was scrolling your website. I see you offer skincare, makeup, and fragrances. So immediately it's like, okay, this guy spent a little bit of time on my website. And then from there, actually, in the email, I start to talk, and maybe later videos will start to actually show what an email looks like. And I start to talk about, the things I notice about the Irish, that they don't trust very easily. And I'm in my personal outreach right now. I'm really trying to hammer home things that really hook, things that really like, oh, this person is ridiculous for writing this in a cold email because everyone gets well, wouldn't you love 30 more booked calls and $12 million extra to your ARR this year? Like it is just so overplayed. And so I'm trying to reduced down to a human level when everyone's running AI and crappy merge tag approaches and all that sort of stuff. So it's pretty accurate. It's pretty bang on without me visiting all these websites. You can see that it makes sense. And one of the important distinctions is I told the AI not to capitalize anything. So do not capitalize these sentences so that they look much more. I see you offer luxury sweaterwear clothing. Okay. Streetwear clothing, pardon me. Um, you know, algae production, some people say algae, some people say algae, production technology systems. It reads well, and so I'm pretty happy with the way this offered data architecture consulting services. Okay, cool. So from here, what I did is that was the formula that I derived, and of course, the formula is a free. There's no credits required. When you're working with, just as a mention, when you're working with AI, I'm using my own model here. You will see that, of course, you can use all different models. Now, I do encourage that you play around with all this stuff, but I'm not using. You can see these credits here that the 4.1 uses 3 credits. And if you're on like even the mid tier, the Explorer plan, that's like 10 cents. I think over 10 cents per line. And they might use maybe a little bit more. You might have to revisit the website. I have gotten where it's unable to determine. I send it back out there for the errors and unable to determine, and then it comes back with something that is correct. So just to be clear that like I spent, because I used my own OpenAI integration, it was like a penny uh, per line. So, allows you to kind of do some math. I have 255 rows here and then only 161. I think that was only because I think they're filtered down. Let me have a look here. It's not empty. So I just filtered down because it actually found an email. So one, we started at the company or the person level. We visited their website. We derived all that data. And from there, whoever was able to be determined, I filtered out the unable to be determined, pushed it over to now let's spend credits on trying to enrich those people. And then whoever I found with the email providers that I was using, which we can look at here, I was able to push a formula or a waterfall and enrich for the emails. So the waterfall here is pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Just the waterfall. I think I added on Snov or Snove, whatever people call it, which I've used them in the past. I have actually used them as an email provider. I haven't not used them in a long time. I use Instantly now, but I was pretty happy with it, to be honest with you. Okay, so then from there, obviously we're using a waterfall. I think anyone at this point knows what a waterfall is. And if you don't, it starts with ideally one of the cheaper data providers up front. And then if it can't find the email there, it goes to the next one, so on and so forth. And you can see that we found the email here. And so then the run condition was not met with this, in this column. And so it just simply did not proceed. And then it ends up tucking your emails and it can verify them as well over here. So from there, I just simply import it into my Instantly, and this was actually just a straight import. I didn't integrate the Instantly account. So this is a straight import, and it's pretty slick. It's pretty straightforward. So yeah, import it or export it out of here, import it into Instantly. Use that personalization. Of course, you have to map that when you're uploading your leads, and make sure. I find that the email is often wrong with when you have to go map things inside of Instantly. So just as a note, make sure that you're targeting that work email specifically. And this is an email campaign that just went live. I don't have any results at this point, and that's a 10-minute chat about a very simple workflow that is personalizing the first line that does not cost you a lot of money. And I think that's probably a pretty awesome use case inside of Clay. I think the one thing I notice about Clay users is they want, and certainly you see it as content on LinkedIn here, is, you know, they want to just throw like almost look how good I am with this tool. And I get that. It's pretty cool. It's brag worthy. But sometimes we're just doing too much. And so what I'm finding with this tool is simplicity can win. It doesn't need to cost you a whole bunch of money. And this is just a small test case of 160 or so emails. And we'll just see what kind of comes out of it, what the open rates are, what the reply rates are, and of course, what positive reply rates are. So that's it. Hope that helps. There's a simple application where you can quite literally reverse engineer what I've done here. And if you want the template, I think I can give that to you as well. So hit me up inside of the school community and we'll go from there. Thank you.